Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Victor, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Father God, we thank you for this beautiful time that you allowed us to come together. God, we ask that your perfect will be done tonight. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Need a roll call?
Counselor Howard.
Here.
Counselor Lorenz.
Here.
Counselor Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Here.
Mayor Becker.
Here.
A quorum is declared.
Have any modifications to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, we sure do. We need to continue. I-1, public hearing for the liquor license for Family Dollar. They have requested that we continue it until February 1st.
Make a motion to move that hearing to the 1st of February.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to remove I-1 and continue it to February 1st for the beer and wine liquor license. Is there any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard.
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz.
Yes.
Counselor Watson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries for the modification of the agenda to continue I-1.
Approval of consent agenda, the minutes of regular meeting from January 4th, 2024, and review and approval of accounts payable.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda for the minutes of regular meeting from January 4th, 2024, and review and approval of accounts payable. Is there any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard.
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz.
Aye.
Counselor Watson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll move to proclamations, communications, and appointments. Proclamation for General Aviation Appreciation Month. Mr. Ellithorpe?
I'm Jed Ellithorpe. I'm help take care of the airport here and have a little proclamation for everybody. Whereas Monte Vista in the state of Colorado has a significant interest in the continued vitality of general aviation, aircraft manufacturing, aviation educational institutions, aviation organizations, and community airports. And whereas general aviation and the Monte Vista Municipal Airport have a significant economic impact on the city of Monte Vista, and whereas the 2020 Colorado Aviation Economic Impact Study of airports in the state support annual business revenues of $48.6 billion, more than 345,000 jobs, and a payroll of $16.2 billion. And whereas, according to the FAA, to the state has 70 public use airports. These airports serve almost 22,000 pilots and more than 6,900 registered aircraft. And whereas, according to the FAA, the state is home to 75 repair stations, 14 FAA approved pilot schools, almost 6,700 student pilots, and over 4,400 flight instructors. And whereas general aviation not only supports Colorado economy, it improves overall quality of life by supporting emergency medical and healthcare services, law enforcement, firefighting, disaster relief, investments in sustainable fuels and technologies, and investments in innovative experimental technology like vertical takeoff landing vehicles, and by transporting business travelers to their destinations quickly and safely. And whereas the United States faces a shortage of aviation professionals, leaders should invest in this critical infrastructure to future economic growth and our next general aviation professionals and pilots.
Served. We asked him to read that
due to the fact that he does take care of the airport for us and he does a fantastic job. So now therefore I, David Becker, Mayor of the City of Monte Vista, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as General Aviation Appreciation Month. Thank you, Chad, I appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we will move to citizen comments and special presentations. For citizen comments, the city council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this same meeting. So we have any? Oh, you want to say anything? That's first from some of you guys. Okay, we'll move on to scheduled appearances. In order to be on scheduled appearances for this portion of the agenda, you have to file the appropriate paperwork with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. So the first one is grant fund expenditure approval. Nita?
Council members and mayor, I'm up here to address this board chief. He's not able to be here tonight. He was awarded 2 grants, both of them from the Division of Criminal Justice for the San Luis Valley Drug Task Force Equipment Project. The first one he got was for $39,204 and it expires June the 30th. The second one was for $50,000 and it expires September 30th. He's made a purchase for 2 handheld narcotics analyzers and a solution kit to identify heroin and other special narcotics in the amount of $75,918.02. This expense will be reimbursed with the funds from the 2 federal grants. Eugene is here and he can come up and answer. He can explain the equipment. He can answer any questions if you have any questions about the specific equipment. I didn't print them out, I'm sorry. But I do have a little bit of information that Chief sent about the brochures, about the equipment. And then after you guys get done, I would ask that you approve the expenditure. Tell them about it. Pretty neat when you get to tell the police officer that.
Council's mayor. So again, like I said, it's a True Narc handheld narcotics analyzer. Basically, everything is in the title. It's a device a little bigger than it looks like a pack of ramen, basically. But we have some drugs or some unknown substance. We can literally point this at the substance and it'll give us a reading of what it is. This is really beneficial for us for a couple of reasons. First is, like I said, it's a point and shoot. Right now, we're doing chemical tests, a wet chemical test. So we are exposing ourselves by getting some of the drugs or whatever the chemical is, taking it out, putting it into another test to test it. So now with this, we literally just pointed at it. It'll give us a reading of it. So we're not exposing ourselves to whatever chemicals is that we're coming across, the fentanyl and all that stuff that's out there now. The nice thing too is that it's really fast turnaround. It literally will give us a display of what it is within seconds of it analyzing. They'll give us a complete printout for our report, so we're not having to dig and figure out what it is and trying to understand what this test does or that test does. It literally prints out everything for us so that when we have it for our reports. And the handheld analysis or narcotics and that analyzer is already allowed in early court proceedings. So we're already able to use it for the initial part of the courts until we need to get other things sent off and things like that. It'll just save us a lot of time, save us a lot of exposure, unnecessary exposure to, the drugs and whatever else that we have. You guys have any questions?
How accurate is it, do you know?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to look at it. But I believe in that other packet had some more information. With it there.
Well, I make a motion to approve the expenditure for the SOV drug task force.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve that expenditure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the grant for the SLB drug task force equipment. Is there any more discussion on it? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz, Counselor Watson, Mayor Pro Tem Segola, Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the grant fund expenditure approval for the SLB drug task force equipment.
Not like a really nice piece of equipment.
Yeah, like to keep the officers safe.
Yes. It answers quicker.
We'll move on to the multimodal and mitigation option fund. MMOF, discussion of project implementation by Rob Banks.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, thank you. Tonight, we're gonna do an initial presentation of the multimodal grant. If you remember back in 2022, the city applied for a grant through CDOT to create a multimodal access through town. And we were awarded in 2023, $1.8 million to do that. The city went out for a request for qualifications and selected KLJ Engineering to be our engineering firm. We have been in with them and they've completed the survey. And tonight is kind of the initial presentation. We on January 8th invited all the property owners where the project's gonna be to kind of come to this meeting so they could hear firsthand. And then we're gonna give them an opportunity. We're gonna go out in the hallway so council can continue on with your meeting. So if they have more specific questions and want to dive a little deeper into what's going to happen directly in front of their property, they can do so. Tonight, I'd like to introduce our project lead from KLJ Engineering, Dean Cooper. He has been doing a wonderful job for us, and he's going to kind of run the presentation. And please, council and audience, feel free to go ahead and, ask questions as we go through this. And definitely at the end, for any of those people that want to go out and do a little more, that would be fine. And we have comment sheets at the back of the room and also out on the table. So if anybody wants to do that, we'll be meeting with CDOT and with our engineers and try to incorporate as many of those suggestions as we possibly can. But with that, I'd like to introduce Dean Cooper, please.
Thanks, Robert. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to present this project to you and the citizens of this town. Just a brief background of myself. I've been in private practice as well as in public service for the last 33 years. Part of that was 9 years spent as Montrose County's county engineer. And I've had my own consulting firm for 10 years and I've been in construction, design, construction management. I've washed the toilets at my own office, so I've done it all. So I like small towns. I grew up small town. If I sound funny, that's because I talk Southern. I apologize for that, but anyway, I am the senior project manager for KLJ, and the project begins. I'll start at the west end, which is it starts at and some of these photos are just kind of random photos, just showing the edge of the road, which is the north side of the highway that we're working on. But the project begins at the alleyway just west of Franklin, and I don't have all the streets memorized, everyone, so I apologize, but we start there at the alley west of Franklin, and we continue all the way down to Sherman, and go down Sherman, the north side of Sherman, and then terminate at it's sky high. So I'm just gonna go through some of these photos, and I apologize if I get these messed up. Let's see.
Do you want to go through the pictures?
Yeah, let's just go through the pictures so we can just show everybody what we're doing. We can just start at the top.
Okay, let me get you back up to the first.
Yep.
one, okay?
And so this is at the sky, when we're tying into the Sky High facility. This is looking west, back towards the highway. This is where the current improvements end as far as any sort of streetscape, sidewalk, what have you. And so this project will, and I'm kind of going backwards. We're actually working from west to east, but the photos that I took them in reverse order. So this is kind of in my mind how things go. But we'll be adding curb and gutter, as well as sidewalk. So you can just envision that we're going to extend that curb and gutter and sidewalks all the way down the north side of Sherman. Did I mess up? All right, here. And again, you can see this is an area, I believe that this is, oh, I can't remember exactly where this is. You'll probably know. Anyway, this is a stretch where you don't have any curb gutter or sidewalk, any sort of storm drainage facilities or anything of that nature. So the project will add curb ADA handicap ramps at the intersections, and drive aprons at the driveway accesses. And you can see where the asphalt is fairly well broken up, and there's just nothing very well defined for pedestrians, as well as bicyclists. There is a bicycle lane there now, but nothing very definitive. And again, we're just continuing. Some of this is looking back the other way. So I believe this is right at the intersection with Sherman.
Sherman at 160.
Looking back towards the east. And so that'll all get curb and gutter through that stop sign. And so the accesses that we have will get new drive aprons. The sidewalk will come through the drive apron, and then there'll be additional apron added onto the back of it to help facilitate tying back into existing grades. And again, this is a corner. This is the road on the west side of the park looking north. And so that'll get its own handicap ramp, and we'll tie into that old curb and gutter that's there. We can only go so far to the north, but we'll be tying new work into old work right off this location. And again, just showing you some of the curb and gutters in good shape. Some of it is very old and spalled from freeze thaw, salt chemicals, those sorts of things. And so that'll all get replaced. We're going to try to keep as many handicap ramps that were recently done. I believe that was fall of 22, if I'm not mistaken. We're assessing those just to make sure that they comply with ADA, which is Americans with Disabilities Act. And if it meets those standards, I mean, we'll keep them. If they don't, we'll probably have to replace those. And again, this will have new curb gutter and sidewalk where there currently is none. Some of the vegetation will have to get trimmed back. In most locations, we have more than ample right of way. We actually have survey plats going back to the 1880s, and they fit very, very well with what's on the ground. It was kind of fun process getting those little plats.
Will you impact any power poles? I mean, I see one there, it looks like.
We're trying to avoid moving anything as much as we can, just because of the time and expense that's involved with moving anything, especially electrical. The lead time on electrical equipment it could be 12 to 18 months. So we'll work around that. As long as we've got at least 4 feet clear with the sidewalk behind a utility, then we probably don't have to move it.
Yeah, and Dean, tell them how about the average width that this is all the way through.
Sure. And so the sidewalk, it will vary. In most places, it's going to be 5 feet, and that would be from the back of the curb that you see there. You'll have a 5-foot sidewalk. Other places where we've got some existing infrastructure or existing sidewalk at 6 feet, we're gonna maintain 6 feet. In front of the Sky High, well, I should say all of Sherman will be 6 feet. We've got ample room, there's no utility conflicts of significance. So that stretch will be 6 feet. Right at the intersection with Sherman, that's one location where we only have 4 feet. And the reason we had to do that was to avoid any sort of right-of-way acquisition. That creates all kinds of hate and discontent when you talk about requiring right-of-way, but we were able to get the geometry to work within the existing right-of-way. We will have to get temporary easements to construct it, but then once the construction is complete, those easements are automatically vacated. Again, just continuing to the west. So this is an area that will get completely replaced. The right of way extends really quite a ways through the middle of those parking spaces. I think the idea is to leave those alone as much as we can. The sidewalk will approach a little bit further towards those parking spaces, but we think we can accommodate those without disrupting that particular parking lot. And again, just this is the reason we're doing this, is to improve your community. So this is an access, I believe, to that same parking lot. So you can envision this with brand new concrete curb gutter and sidewalk through your drive apron at this particular location. Just continuing on. Just more photos. I don't think that there's a sidewalk there now. It's just some crusher lines or something in there. This is a stretch in front of the school that will be 6 feet. It's roughly 6 feet now, and so we'll just keep with that handicap ramp and Hawks crossing. That's called a Hawks device. That'll all remain, so we won't be replacing any of that. That'll just stay right like it looks right now. We'll just add on new on either side and keep going. All right. The laser gonna work here.
And so then, Dean, so it ends at the beginning of the Alta gas station?
That is correct.
The east side of their property line?
That's correct. Yes.
Dean, the laser's not gonna work if
No.
you wanna just step over there.
Okay, I can do that.
Kind of speak up so the mics can get you.
So the way this is designed, the way it will be, the drawings will be laid out. We convention that we work from west to east. So this is where the project starts, and that's the end of the alley. If you're interested in widths, we've got a color code for the widths. The kind of yellow goldenrod color is 5 feet. The magenta is 6 feet. We've got one short piece of 8 feet just because we're tying into an existing ramp, and that's 8 feet wide, so no need to replace it. We don't have to. And then the blue is 4 feet. And so it just continues down. This is the park right here, just to give you an idea of location. So Franklin is here. Your park is here. Sherman is right here. And then Sky High is here. So this fits here. So if you just look at the match lines as you're looking at it, that's how they tie together. So we go from west to east. Improvements wise, the like I said, the sidewalk's going to be varying width, 4, 5, and 6 feet, small bit of 8 feet. The curb and gutter will be a CDOT DOT standard 2 feet gutter and a half a foot vertical curve. Other than that, that's the project in a nutshell. We will also be adding a designated bike lane that'll be out in the asphalt, so that'll be in the traveled way. And in most places, it's going to be fairly wide, approximately 7 feet. We'll have, and then as you get towards Sherman, and we make that as we kind of transition through here, where we don't have a lot of good right of way, should be right here. We have 4 feet of asphalt, bike path. For designated bike on the dead floor. That's the project in a nutshell, so I'd be happy to take any questions. We do have comment sheets, comment sheets. We'll take them in the back. I've also got a layout of this. It's hanging up on the back wall there if you want to look at it there. But I'd welcome any comments that you have. We've got Sharpies for people to write on. If you got questions, comments, that's what the drawing and the pens are there for, is to give you something to write on. If you're not comfortable doing that and you just want to leave comments, if you want someone to get back in touch with you, make sure you leave your name and the contact information, with his phone number or email. After this meeting, any questions or comments really need to go through Robert, and then he will get those back to me. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Come up to the microphone,
Okay.
please.
I'm Don Nolan. And this probably is a question more for the city than it is for the engineering firm. Is that I understand that the purpose of this is to kind of tie Sky High to town, make safe travel. Yet the most unsafe place is not included. That's crossing railroad tracks from Alta to the visitor center. Nothing is being done there, and that's probably the most unsafe portion of that whole travelway, and I was wondering why that's not included.
Please.
Don, in a nutshell, trying to deal with the right of way and get a pedestrian crossing is not gonna happen. And that's the same way, the reason this project is only on the north side. Because on the south side of Highway 160, there is a blur between railroad property, CDOT right of way. So we need to stay completely out of that, because this project wouldn't happen for another 15 years.
Because we'd have to put like a pedestrian bridge over that or something like that.
Well, you have to gain an access. So anytime you cross a railroad, you have to gain an access. If you, just everybody, so there at Montez where the skate park is, there's a restroom there. We had to run, the sewer line is on the other side of the railroad tracks in the alley back there off of Lyle Street. We had to bore underneath the railroad tracks to get to the sewer line. And we pay them a monthly fee for the right to go under their railroad tracks.
Really?
It's $400 a month. So, and that's, I mean, in a nutshell, they simply will not grant us a pedestrian access. They do not want a dedicated pedestrian, because they don't want pedestrian trains, heavy trains don't make it. So we are looking at some other opportunities, but this is a good project for us to at least start the process. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, the other thing about this project, and Rob applied for the grant, it's 100% grant. And so there was no city match to it. And so that's a real score for $1.8 million. The other piece of it, and they think, and it's not your fault, Dean, but I think the majority of these folks are for the next thing that's on the agenda. But for the audience to just think about this sidewalk, and so you'll no longer just be able to whip into Pizza Hut parking lot. I mean, there will be a designated entrance into Pizza Hut or into the liquor store. And so it's going to kind of change the landscape of, what has been regularly used. But I think it'll also make us look like we're a town growing up, so.
And actually make those entrances safer.
Yeah.
Charlie, did you have something?
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I'm looking. I'm Charlie Bird. I got a kind of looking down the road at the west side of Sky Park at Sky Trail. We got a dog leg in that road. And because of a street light, and I noticed today they were working out there or whatever. But knowing that they're gonna be placing curb and gutter turning north and stuff there on Sky High Trail, right? As we're looking down the line and stuff, should we not move that power pole out of the way and straighten that road and stuff and actually put that curb and stuff where it belongs?
We will look at some of that stuff. This is literally the preliminary drawings after the initial survey. So some other things that are happening tonight at council, depending on those outcomes, may adjust that one particular intersection there at Sky High Trail and Sherman. And we'll kind of see where things go with that. But I'll go up, also wanted to make sure that, you know, we talk about it being for Sky High, and it's really, this project is for our community. Marsh Elementary is right in that property along that project. And Mr. Weiderman from the school district likes the design because it creates a better opportunity for those kids to get safely to the schools. So our goal, DJ's and my goal, is try to get our community more walkable. If you go out and drive, there's very few places in town where you can actually walk on a dedicated sidewalk from point A to point B. You know, there's not continuous sidewalks from Morse to Safeway or from anywhere else in town. And we're trying to do that, and we're gonna have to take little bites at it, but this is a good first start.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I will make one other comment. If the bids to do this project come in above the grant amount, we'll have to either see if we can find the money to do it to this full extent, or where we're gonna have to cut it back. So.
Any questions from the council? Anybody? No?
We're not acting on anything tonight, right?
What's that?
No particular action tonight.
No,
That's
no,
more
this
information.
is just informational only at this point, yes, sir. So, with that, we'll let you guys go. If any of the audience members want to step out, we're gonna kind of meet and talk about some things. So, and if anybody else wants to make comments, like I said, we have comment sheets here and also there. If you want to just take them home, think about them, bring them back to me, that's perfectly fine. Okay? Thank you.
And I really appreciate the opportunity to present this project to you all. Like I said, small town, I'm small town minded. I'm on small town USA. And it's a pleasure working for your staff and for your citizens. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, we are gonna move on to public hearings, the PUD for Sky High Complex. Planner DJ Enderly, so we will go out of council session and go into public hearing.
Yeah, so, Mr. Mayor, do you want DJ to kind of give the overview first?
Yeah.
And then we'll go into public hearing.
Okay. All right, we're back inside.
Crowd back. Evening, council, community members, mayor. So, first I want to start with why we're doing the PUD. So PUD is a plan unit development. There's multiple types of plan unit development out there. The one we're focused on today is a commercial plan unit development. So it does not include housing, which a typical PUD wouldn't come from the city. It would come from a developer. And they would be looking to develop either a neighborhood or an area or a subdivision. Really what we're trying to tackle is historically an area that has historically been zoned and inappropriately managed as far as like from a planning perspective. Right now it is multiple parcels that the lines actually make it so some of our buildings are not within the building code. We did build the new Sky High complex, which is in the right of way, as opposed to having a setback. We did not build appropriate parking. We didn't do a lot of things when we were building the Sky High complex. And then is also zoned as residential medium density, which does not allow for a rodeo ground and event center, public park, public parking. Like all of those things that it's currently zoned for, it does not match what we have. So when I first came on board, a year and a half ago now, we were looking at Sky High and we were like, we need to address what's going on. So it kind of took me a while to get everything going and get my feet under me to figure out what to do. And so this is the final result of about a year worth of thinking and planning and trying to figure out what best to do. We had a public hearing, or a public meeting, with planning and zoning. We addressed some of their needs. We adjusted some of the maps. And that way we came to what you'll see here in a little bit. And the thing that pushed everything kind of over the edge was we got the earmark for the FEMA grant to make it into an emergency operations center. As we look forward to using federal money, and we do all these things, we need to make sure that it's zoned correctly, that the parcel lines are correct, and that we can meet the building codes, so that we can do the grants, actions, and everything that we need to do for that grant correctly. So that's really what started the whole process. There's a couple things that got added in the middle, but that's pretty much it. Is there any questions on why we're doing it? No? Sweet. Now we can get it.
Now we can
Now
go.
you're good, unless you guys have questions.
No. Okay, we will go into public hearing now. Yes, Gene will take care of the public hearing.
I'm interested in how many people are interested in speaking. Obviously, we have folks here tonight. Yeah.
We'll find out after Gene gets started.
Okay.
We'll go into public hearing on this matter. This is a public hearing pursuant to Article 18, Plan Unit Development of the Monte Vista City Code regarding Sky High Park Complex. So you'll know what we're talking about with a PUD, and DJ has given you some information on that already. The reasons that seem to be pertinent here are that it's to provide the necessary commercial, recreational, educational facilities conveniently located to housing of various types and densities, provide for well-located, clean-cut, and safe commercial and industrial sites that integrate well-planned parking and access, pedestrian walkways, landscaped open areas, and harmonious relationships between structures. And also encouraging innovations in residential, commercial, and industrial development and renewal so that the growing demands of the population may be met by greater variety in type, design, and layout of buildings, and by the conservation and more efficient use of open space ancillary to the buildings. Now, the code also states that the district standards that we use, in other words, in zoning, as stated in Article 5 of this chapter, shall not apply to plan unit developments. A zoning change is not required. However, the area included in each approved plan unit development shall be indicated on the official zoning map. It may be that a zoning area, different zones should be instituted, but it's not required. And it says also that it's the intent of this article that any property may be developed as plan unit development. So this is broad enough that it takes in residential. Usually you're dealing with residential PUDs, but it can take in industrial, it can take in commercial, commercial highway, and various other zones. We'll call a public hearing at this time. The record should reflect that it's approximately 20 minutes to 7 on this 18th day of January 2024. A quorum of the Monte Vista City Council is present. This matter has been publicly noticed previously. There's audience participation here. I believe there was about to be a motion about time limits on this by the council.
Yeah, I'd like to, I know there's a lot of interest here, and at least on these initial comments, I'd like to make a motion that we limit comments initially to 3 minutes, so we can get through all the folks here in a reasonable manner and get to the end. Maybe we can, if there's time, we can allow some other ones, but I'd like to make that initial motion.
Second. Got a second. Been moved and seconded to have a time limit of 3 minutes on comments. Any discussion on that? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to limit comment to 3 minutes.
So with that, we will, the way we'll proceed is to take comments in favor of a plan unit development, and all testimony will be sworn. And then we will take, and the council may want to question anybody who gives a comment about what they mean about a certain item in the comment, but we will then go to any persons who want to testify in opposition to that. And then we'll come back to the proponents who usually have the burden of showing that the PUD should be passed. So with that, we will begin, and we're going to ask you to state your name, your address, and your occupation, where you live, in other words, and then let you proceed with your comments. So we're going to try to, somebody going to be the timekeeper on this? Nita is. So let's go ahead and proceed with the public hearing at this time. Okay, Don?
What if you're new to it, but have some comments you want to make about it?
We'll let you do that.
Where do I come in?
In between.
Okay. Okay, who would like to begin?
I would actually prefer, G, if it would be all right for me to start and kind of go over the PUD, because there have been some miscommunication, some misunderstanding in the public. So I would like to at least walk through the map.
Yeah, I
prior to
thought we probably thought that your comments were going to be a little longer at the first, but since you're in that position, why don't you go ahead with an explanation of how it's laid out?
Okay. So
I
this
won't limit you to 3 minutes either.
Well, I appreciate that too. So this is the project as it sits right now. This is the current survey. You can see where the ball fields are. You can see where the arena is. Down here where it says sharing, that's actually where the building is. And this is all blank parking. Okay, who's doing this stuff? So this is blank areas, and this is where the public shops are. And this kind of
Trying to help you out.
This kind of shows, so this is the property line that goes through right here, and you can see it goes through where the shed is, the shop. So the shop crosses parcel lines, which makes it illegal as far as the building codes. You can't have a parcel line, can't have a building cross the parcel line. It has to be 5 feet off. So, you know, that's just some of the stuff that we're looking at, and then down in here, which you can't see, which is fine, please don't change it again.
We're trying
This
to
is actually on the right of way.
Barred.
Sorry, we were trying to either move the map up or get rid of the black line, so.
There we go. So you can see it is all the way down on the right of way down here. This is the limited parking area that we do have. This is where the pavilions are now, and then we have some dirt parking here, and this is for the public. And everybody here is obviously knows about Sky, so you can kind of picture what that shows. This is how it sits right now. Now, a misconception is that we're moving these to put a hotel where the baseball fields are. The baseball fields are currently in terrible repair. It's gonna cost upwards of $300,000 to revamp them with new watering systems, grass, electricity, lights, all the things that we need to make them functional. Will cost about $300,000 to do. So instead of rehabbing them there, which is also a very hard place to keep things healthy as far as grass and stuff goes, we're actually sat in a planning session today with the school district, and we're going to go in conjunction with the school district to move 2 ball fields out there and revamp the entire middle school campus so that they have 3 ball fields plus the practice fields, a playground area, some seating. They'll have concession stands, they'll have bathrooms, all located out the middle school. So instead of having an area that we use for 6 weeks and they have an area they use for 7 or 8 weeks, well, a combined area that we can then have multiple functions at the entire year, from football, from soccer, through baseball. It should be a year-round campus. And we're looking at, based off some funding, some grants that we're all trying to get, making that AstroTurf, which will also reduce a significant amount of water that's used out there. Now, we're not making it all AstroTurf because some kids don't like to play on that, so some of it will be grass. We're moving into something called Toma 31, which has 30% less winter kill and requires 40% less water. So we're gonna take these baseball fields, which are in terrible condition, and we're gonna place some new ones out at the middle school that's gonna be just as nice or nicer than the facility that we currently have. So that's not the function of this, we're just taking care of some other things at the same time. You go to the next one. All right, so as you can see right now, this is how it sits, and these dark lines are the parcel lines that you see. So we have various parcels that kind of make up this 23-acre site. So one of the things that we're doing is removing the parcel lines to align with what they actually have. The new parcel lines, next slide, will look a lot like this. It creates a 5-foot gap between the shed and the parcel line, and it will come out to give the public works enough space. It removes all parcel lines in interior, so that if down the road we end up adding some things, like we are already talking about adding some public restrooms and those things, we don't have to worry about having a parcel line in the middle of the property that prevents us from building. Just making it for good planning in the future. And then taking the parcel and moving it all the way, because it will go all the way up to east. We own a small parcel right here, so that parcel will go all the way up. So again, we don't cross parcel lines, it's just one contiguous piece of property. And that is probably the largest reason we did the PUD, was it makes everything into a single piece, a single property, single owner. And it makes it so that it's much easier to work with. And then we can also change the zoning to be appropriate. This is going to be a commercial piece, which is currently slotted to be a hotel. If everything plays out the way that it's kind of moving. And then this is a right of way for Clearview and a right of way for San Juan. Now, there was a lot of public comments about this in the beginning. Why don't we have the roads go all the way through? This is a multi-use facility, and if we start hard packing roads that go all the way through, it limits our ability to have the circuses, the carnivals, the fairs. It kind of makes it so that it makes it more chopped up, and it takes away a lot of its utility. So by taking these and bringing them out as far as we need to have good access, but not destroying the openness of the property itself, it makes it a much more usable and versatile property. This up here is in our RV park, 15 spaces, which was set aside out of the earmark from the federal grant earmark that we got. The 15 spaces will be rentable throughout the year, but they're designated as an emergency evacuation center. So like the South Forest West Forest Complex fire, where we had upwards of 50 campers parked through Sky High with nowhere to dump, nowhere to get electricity, nowhere to shower. This will take away that problem. There'll be a dump station, as well as each of those are plans to be full service with electrical, sewer, water, all of that. We're still debating whether it's a year-round rental, summertime rental. Really, it's going to come down to how much can we protect the water source there and the sewer lines and make sure we don't freeze them and break things. So that's the design for that. There will be a further design for that once we get to the architecture done. Once we get some design drawings, we'll come back and show you what it will look like. That's the concept as it sits right now. Is there any questions on the map?
Is it to scale?
Yes.
That one is to scale.
Yes.
When they go and have the,
You guys need to,
Excuse
you guys
me.
talk, you need to come up with-
DJ, rather than asking for
I
comments,
was actually asking council.
oh, okay.
We'll come back to you guys. So. Any questions, council, on that? Okay. So the PUD has been set up. And I didn't read Gene because I didn't know if you wanted me to go through the entire PUD prior to.
well, I'd like you to go ahead with your presentation so that everybody will know what they're talking about and what you're talking about when they get to their questions.
Okay. So you guys have the packet. I assume most of you guys have the packet. We broke it down in projects as opposed to phases. And the reason we did this by phase as opposed to a project as opposed to phase. Some things based on funding may happen out of order. And I didn't want us to finish a phase 4 before phase 3. So now I can say project 5 got done before project 3 did because we had funding. So that's why it's not broke out as a typical phasing. First one is the out cold center. First thing we're asking for on that is a reduced setback. We've already built the building. Mistakes were made, so I'm asking for a 0 setback on that. As well as changing the overall zoning for the entire PUD sites to be commercial highway, which will allow for everything that's being planned is being currently done on the site. It makes it actually legal to have those events there without violating our own municipal code. Second thing with that particular part of the parcel for the Outcold Event Center or Conference Event Center is a reduced parking set. There is enough space in the 23 acres for the 1,510 parking spaces that we're required to have for the event center as it sits. Unfortunately, I would have to pave 22 out of the 23 acres to make that happen. That does not sound like a good use of the land to me. Typically right now what happens is people park all the way down the road. They park behind, they park in the Sky High Stampede's parking lots across the street. They park in the Stampede's lot behind. I'm not asking to change how we do things now, but I also don't want to destroy the property by making it so that it's number one, financially unfeasible. Number two, it'll destroy the property for what we intend to use it for, which is a multi-purpose. So I'm asking for an exception to all of the parking requirements. In that, if we do pave parking in the future, the city will meet the parking standards set out in chapter 12, section 19, which you give sidewalks and certain sizes and islands and lighting. Whatever we do pave in the future, if we make more handicap, we will meet the requirements. So that's one of the questions I'm asking for, or that the city's asking for, I guess. We're asking to separate out a potential commercial site, which will be approximately 330 feet east and 337 feet north of Sherman and Sky High Trail. That is, at this point, we are anticipating putting in a hotel. So we're also asking for a 10-foot addition to the height, which will allow us to have 60 feet in height as opposed to the current restriction of 50, which is allowed in the section or chapter 12 as well. And parking will meet the current parking requirements set aside in chapter 12, section 19 for the hotel or the commercial site. Public workshop, I would like to extend the parcel line so that we don't have buildings in the middle of it. So we're just asking for a couple feet here and a couple feet there as far as the parcel line moves go. No additional changes are set aside at that time. We would like permission to pursue the RV park. 15 spaces is set aside by the FEMA emergency evacuation plan. As demonstrated on the map. And then project 5 is a dog park and open space. And that is mostly for, if we do have RVs there, it'd be nice to have a place where they could let their dog off the leash. As well as we don't have very many places in town where you can let your dog off a leash. So it would provide one area in town where you could run your dog off a leash in a park area. And that was all 5 projects and a very quick summary of the project. Any questions?
Okay, is that preface to all this? Who would like to testify this matter? Okay, Don. Go ahead and assume the podium up there. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give in this proceeding will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name, address, and occupation, please.
My name is Don Nolan. Address is 2090 East Drive, Monte Vista, and I'm retired. And do you want me to sign the sheet?
You're on the clock.
Since I have limited time, I can't greetings. I want to thank the council, staff, and all of you that have improved this building. It looks nice. The Christmas decorations, very nice. We appreciate that. It is for the approval of the PUD. I have many reasons why I think the application should not be approved as presented. But a lot of these are nitpicks. There's a few comments. Since this is an application by the city to the city for approval by the city, there's always concern that there'll be some favoritism shown. Therefore, the council should be extra judicious in applying the same criteria to this application as they would to an application from a private entity. There's good reason for each requirement and restriction included in municipal codes. Therefore, granting a variance from the code should be taken very seriously. There should be a good reason for the variance. And you should understand what that reason is, because if you don't know the proper reason, you could grant a variance and cause a big problem. And a couple of the reasons that should not ever be approved is that I can't do what I want to do here if I abide by the code. And it's too broad. And I don't have enough money to finish it in accordance to code right now. I mean, you'd never let a private entity go with that, so you shouldn't use that as a proper reason for granting a variance. Okay, although the application states that Sky High Campus PUD was developed to meet the purposes stated in the Monte Vista Municipal Code under Chapter 12, Article 18, et cetera. Specifically, it will provide for strategically located, clean, and safe commercial sites that integrate well-planned parking and access, pedestrian walkways, landscape open areas, and harmonious relationship between structures. Personally, I don't know what harmonious relationship between structures looks like, so I can't comment on that. However, well-planned parking, access, and pedestrian walkways, which are important safety aspects of the development, really are not shown on your drawings. I think that the application is still incomplete, that you need to have more information before you can really make a determination on it. Now, parking has always been a problem, as mentioned, at Sky High. And so the PUD should be offering solutions to the problem and not be adding to the problem. And just requesting that the PUD be exempt from the entirety of Chapter 12, Article 19, off-street parking and loading definitely is not a solution to the problem. It should not be granted. The applicant should be required to provide a means by which the parking needs can be met. And some of these options are, well, I said 100% parking on the site, or a combination of on-site parking and agreements with a Stampede committee or something to use their areas for parking.
Don, you're at an end on your time here, I think,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I realize we're kind of cutting this short, but there might be a lot of people that need to talk in this whole matter, so we want to give everybody a chance.
You have some written comments that we could keep?
Pardon?
Do you have some written comments that we could?
Yeah.
keep? That'd be great. Thank you.
I'd like a copy of those too, Don. If you can email them to me, I'll pass them to council.
Okay.
Okay, next. Don't tell me there's no one else. Okay, sir. You solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
State your name and address and occupation, please.
my name is Charles Solera. I live on the corner of East Drive and Sky High Trail there. If you ever been by there, I'm the one with all the dogs there. But
Could you just spell your last name? I'm sorry.
Cellura.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and my concern is with bringing all this into the neighborhood. Our neighborhood's fairly quiet. You know, we do have some issues with the apartments down there, but by putting a 6-story hotel on the corner there, it's gonna create a lot of traffic in the area. It's putting the RV park in there. We have a lot of noise when the carnival is there, because that's where they all park and they all live there for a week, sometimes a little more. And by having the RV park there, we're gonna end up having a lot of people that come in and do the heavy work on the farms and stuff. It's at different times of the year and stuff. But where my house is, I'm kitty corner to, I'm right on the other side of the wash there. And we get all the noise from the Sky High area. This is just gonna create, I think, a lot of inconveniences around. I'm also afraid that it's gonna move the the little town that sets up for the carnival is gonna be where it was when I first moved here, and it was right up on the street there, which made it very loud, a lot of drinking, fireworks and stuff going off during the night and stuff. So I'm just concerned that we're gonna lose our nice, quaint, you know, livable area there. We're turning it into a commercial area. And I can understand the need for income and stuff, but I also would like to maintain our small town. I think a 6-story hotel is way out of the question and kind of ridiculous.
It's actually a 4-story.
Well, if they're asking for a 60-foot thing, it could easily expand to a six-story. So that's my concern, because once you give them the okay to have that height, what's this?
Well, this time it could never be above 4 stories because our fire department doesn't have a ladder that would be high enough.
Well, then they can keep it at the 50-foot. There's no reason to go and ask for it to go any higher.
Right.
So somebody's thinking in the future that, you know what, by the time they can get this project going, that they may be able to solve that situation. So, but that's basically mine. I'm just as a citizen. I'm retired, so I'm home a lot now. And, you know, and I love the community and stuff. I came from LA. So I enjoy this, and I really don't want to see my street to turn into, you know, Reseda Boulevard or something, you know, it's. So, but anyways, thank you for your time, and
Thank you for your comments, appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have to look.
Thank you, sir.
Council, the hotel that as it's currently designed is 56 feet tall total. And we've added a couple of feet in there for if they go slightly above grade for drainage. So that would be why we got the total of 60. And the extra feet above 50 is where the parapet will go up to cover the mechanicals on top, so you won't see them from the roof.
Rather than having just the responses to each person here, I'd like to give everybody a chance to talk, and if you make some notes to respond to that, each one, when you get back up, DJ, I think this will go a little better and a little faster. Okay, so who else do we have that wants to talk? Charlie, do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give in this proceeding will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Just state your name, address.
My name's Charles Bird. I'm a longtime resident of Monte Vista. Spent most of my adult life in one way or another involved with Sky High Park and the activities that happen out there. I'm kind of excited in the direction that we're going. And the removal of the baseball fields. When they were brought in there, it was kind of an emergency type thing. And very little planning was put in as to how things were going to affect and how it was going to really fit into the rest of the facility. I really support the idea of not having hardened roads and stuff in there, because it is a very diverse park with lots of different things, whether it's the fair and how they park their vehicles and stuff there, or whether it's also Sky High Park and the carnival. I just think by not really making it a hardened area and stuff there with hardened paved roads, it kind of allows for a much more diverse area there. Kind of back to my comment earlier on Sky High Trail, the way that's bent and where it comes, and knowing that that's where your motel and stuff's gonna be. There again,
I guess that's where I'd like to see that straightened back out, because I think your property line actually goes a little bit west of where that is. It was kind of dumb the way it was put in there and put that dog leg in from when we used to have the horse barn down north there. And then when we were doing parimutuel horse racing, Sky High Trail didn't exist. And big pillars that they used to have with a big security fence going around Sky High Park was actually right there where the fire hydrant is. And we had a large fence. And looking at the development that's already going on with your RV park and what's happening on the north side of the Lariat Ditch, the liability of Lariat Ditch and stuff is part of this plan and stuff in here with your RV park and stuff. I think we really need to look at screening off the Lariat Ditch. So we don't do an encroachment on the ditch, so they have adequate. We're not encroaching on their right of way. They have plenty of access to do their cleaning and stuff. But also from a security standpoint of any of our activities, of any children or whatever late at night falling into the ditch and stuff there. So I think we need a security fence. I think also that would really come into play as if you were to have something like bands in the backyard or whatever, where you had a large gathering and not necessarily where you had an all-day event where you paid a fee to get on the premises. And kind of like you do at State Fair and stuff, and you go here and you go there and you want to go to the concert, you want to go to the rodeo or whatever. But that would really enhance the usability of Scott High Park and stuff. But other than that, the east drive there, the access off, I still think that needs to be kept as a service road. Thank you all.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next. You solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give in this proceeding will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And state your name and address, occupation, please.
My name is Sheila Sanders. My address is 535 Jefferson Street here in Monte Vista. I'm a business owner. I'm a florist. I'm not a big fan of the hotel going in. My whole thing is we have a historical one in town that probably could be purchased and refurbished and brought back to life. If it could, all this is about bringing revenue back into Monte Vista. It is in Monte Vista. It's right downtown. It would be perfect where it's at. If it could just be reworked, re-renovated. People could stay there. It's big enough. It's got enough parking. It has options for conference center. It's got the hotel. It's got place for a restaurant. It's got a dining area. It's got everything it needs. Just needs TLC. If the town wants to invest money, why not buy that? It's in the city. We've got other motels as well. My second part is if the RV parks are for FEMA, why, and that's supposed to be for emergency, how is it we're going to rent them out? We rent them out in between emergencies, or what if they're rented and there's an emergency? Those people have to leave. Do they get refunded? How does that work? Those are just some of my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Sheila.
Next, person. Solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Name, address, and occupation.
Mark Deacon, I live on 166 Shooty Lane, right beyond Home Lake. My main concern is, I'm for this, and I think it'd be a good look for us, but you know, there's a lot of projects here. I think when you start one, my main concern is pushing our carnival out. I need 5 acres for that carnival. And without that carnival, we don't have a rodeo. We need that carnival. And he's having a hard time in all these new little towns. He's losing Gunnison, Canyon City, because all this new innovation, they push it right on out. And even with our Sky High complex, it's changed his dynamic to the way we used to feed people to him. And he was a little mad at us last year, just kind of, you know, you come out of the concert, he wants us to push people right into it. And right now we're kind of going all different directions. The cops kind of parked in the way and people divert, not going that way. So The softball fields being out is a very good solution. I think we can do that, but if we put too much stuff in there, we need that parking. They need to surround that. And after our event, we need to push those people right to him in the back. So maybe a dog park or something like that. We need to save for the Cowboys and we need to save for parking is what I think. But he will fit in that softball fields. I just don't want to break ground on a hotel and not get those softball fields moved first, because that's gonna put us in a very bad position. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, next. Nobody else?
My name is Skip Hawes. And I.
You solemnly swear the testimony that you will give in this proceeding will be the truth, no truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Skip Hawes. I own a property that borders the little section that will go out to the north on each side. And I second Charlie's opinion that some real concern with that being opened up and becoming an access to what will now be a commercial and industrial property. I fully support the use of that property for an access road because of course there is blocked access for emergency services during any event. But a real concern with that being opened up and the potential to becoming a more permanent access for road around the intersection of Sherman Avenue and 160. As far as that, and then also just personally, the idea of the RV park being rented out by the city, competing with potential private enterprises that may be involved with something that is it seems a concern to me. But my main issue is access through that north loop, which I understand there is access there. The city owns property, but conditional use, but a full-time access through there is a concern to me as a property owner. Although I'm not within city limits, not sure how that works, but thank you.
Thank you, Skip. Okay. Next person? Nobody else? Thought everybody wanted to talk about this. Well, if there's no other comments on what we will do is, we've had several already, so DJ, do you want to get up and assess those particular comments first?
I'd like to make a comment first, Mr. Attorney. So.
I'm not going to have you sworn.
Okay.
Just go ahead and make a comment. You're city manager.
Sheila, your concerns about the hotel. First and foremost, the city is not investing in a hotel. We're trying to create an environment that would allow for local investors to purchase the land from the city. If that happens, and if that's approved by council, once that little 2.5 acres, 2.43 acres is sold, then the city is out, and it's between the investors and the company that they would be building with. And as far as the RV park goes, currently there's no RV park within the city limits. Closest one is in Del Norte, and then of course towards Alamosa. The main crux of this is about trying to keep business in Monte Vista, to stop the bleed of people coming to Sky High. For an example, next month, there is the Rocky Mountain Southern Ag Conference. We'll have 140 vendors, and most of them are from outside of the San Luis Valley. Those vendors, they don't like staying in facilities that are not just 100% top notch. I agree. We've got a beautiful historic hotel downtown that does need a lot of TLC. But again, it wouldn't be the city making that investment. And investors got to go in there and do that. And that is happening right now at the Sand Hill Hotel. That's been purchased, and we haven't found out yet by who, but they are, looks like they're doing some heavy renovations to that facility. And you know, we did a feasibility study and a financial pro forma as we're trying to recruit investors to look at this. The market study shows a 60-room hotel. If that is built and that revenue can stay here in Monte Vista, and we've got people sleeping in a hotel here, then that means they're gonna go downtown and they're gonna eat dinner there. Because right now, with all of these vendors staying in Alamosa, once they head home for the night, they're gonna eat in Alamosa. And so we're just trying to capture some of that economic activity to keep it here so that they do wander around our downtown and they do take the opportunity to see our local sites, because there won't be any reason to leave until the conference has ended. Same way with the Crane Festival. You know, people actually come from all over the world. Wouldn't it be great if we can host those folks right here in town and show off our beautiful amenities and what the character of what Monte Vista has to offer. And so with that, it's going to be easier to do some recruiting for other 1, 2, 3 day smaller conferences that would fit into the venue that we have there. So, so I just want to make it clear that it's not the city that's going to be building a hotel. The city is just trying to facilitate the opportunity for that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Will there be stipulations to this hotel that they don't have conference rooms? Because it could put us in direct competition with the facility that we just got done building. Because what would stop them from having a nice conference sized room? And it would put it in direct competition and take away, you know, money from the city that would be doing conferences or parties.
So the format, and please state your name again for the record, Charlie.
Charles Thor.
Thank you. So the blueprint that we have seen so far, potentially, it would have a smaller conference room, something I don't even think this large. And I do support that, because there's a lot of, there'd be a lot of reasons, like if you had a wedding party, where are all the bridesmaids going to get dressed together and giggle and get their hair food and everything? And so I think it makes sense for a smaller conference room within the hotel, but we're not concerned that they are going to pull any business away from what Sky High has to offer.
It's a relatively small conference room, it's roughly the size of the executive conference room behind.
Well, that's what we have over at the Sky High. You have multiple rooms that break down into bigger rooms. So it's still something to where, you know what?
Okay.
It's a kind of a mute decision there to you know, put direct competition without some restrictions there, because we already have the multiple size conference rooms and stuff. And we've been getting pretty good use out of it. We see the quinceañeras and the parties and stuff and.
Mr. Lazar, I'm gonna have to break this right now so that the city planner can get up and respond to these various comments, okay? Don't want to cut you off, but we got to move this. So DJ.
So I'll kind of go through some of the questions in order. Charlie, you were talking about the ditch. First I want to actually talk to Don about traffic and parking and pedestrian. Because the ditch comes into it, we're in the beginning discussion with Lariat Ditch to drop the ditch below grade and put a trail on top of the Lariat Ditch from Sky High all the way through town to the other end of town. So we're in the very beginning of the conversation, but they're on board, they're at least like the idea. Now we're gonna start looking at the design. We're going after a grant to do some design and to start working through that project with the Lariat ditch. So it would remove that danger, but it would also provide some pedestrian space for people to walk to the property as opposed to multiple people driving. So maybe we wouldn't have quite as many people driving to the property. They could walk to the concert, they could walk to the carnival, they could do those things in a safe manner, as well as using the MMOF, which comes on the other side of town. We're working through the redesign of Sky High Trail. First, we have to figure out what the dimensions of Sky High is going to look like. We have to work through what the MMOF is going to look like. And then we're going to look at Sky High Trail. The right of way there is very large. It goes from the edge of the property where it is right now, all the way over almost to where the apartment is. The apartment only sits about 10 feet inside their property. So we have the opportunity to move that over, possibly look at some 45-degree angle parking. Like there's lots of opportunity there. We just haven't done the design yet because we need to see where all these other pieces and parts play in before we do the redesign of Sky High Trail. So screening, I think, is a great thing to do. I think that will address some of the issues that you're concerned with by building, possibly looking at, we have some additional bricks left over from the original construction Sky High. We could potentially put screening in around the back side of the RV park to protect the neighborhood that is East Drive. So we could look at some funding to put in some screening back there. We could look at either hard fencing, we could look at some soft fencing such as hedgerows, trees, lilac bushes, things of that nature. Just depends on what we come up with as far as that goes, but we could look at some screening for Lariat Ditch as well as the properties. The access for the service road, it would only be a service road. After our last conversation, talked to Rob, talked to Public Works, talked to Planning and Zoning Commission, it would not be a through street, it would be a barred access except for during maintenance, emergencies and those kinds of things. It would be able to drive a truck through there to get emergency services on the property or to do maintenance and those kinds of things. So that one would become a service road only, which came up afterwards. The RV park emergency, for your concerns, yes. If we rent them out, part of the contract is if there is an emergency where we activate the emergency operations center, they would get refunded and they would have to leave. That's just the nature of what we're building. And then as far as competitive for the RV park, I've actually talked to a gentleman who was interested in opening an RV park. He couldn't figure out if it would be busy. He couldn't figure out the cash flow. He couldn't figure out those things. 15 spaces is, if it's going to be successful, it's going to be very successful. And it will demonstrate to a local person that this is something that will work. So the person who I spoke with was located not far from there. And he's actually hoping that once it's built, he can talk to us about our occupancy rates and he'll determine whether or not he wants to build his own park. So it could drive some economic development down the road based on its popularity. So that could help there. The carnival and softball fields, brought up by Mr. Deacon. So when we remove the softball fields, they actually will gain more area as far as carnival space than what they had before. The space that we're breaking off for the hotel or the commercial development is smaller than what is taken up by the softball fields as it sits right now. So there should be no loss. It's going to take a shift in design, a shift in usage maybe, which we can sit down with Stampede Committee and come up with a good plan for how we want to develop that. Once we kind of, again, see how all this plays out as far as what you guys agree to, and then where the rights of way end up coming in. So I think that there's some opportunity there to do some definite reconstruction. It may not look like it did last year, but it might create corridors to drive those people to it, and some other things. Last thing with pedestrian safety, we talked about creating some better crosswalks there and some better lighting there to cross Sherman Avenue to get back and forth from that parking lot, because that's a danger. And then the other thing, the MOF, we left it at 6 feet wide there so that we have a wide pedestrian walkway for as far as the city owns from one end of it to the other. So that way that they're not walking the street as much. They have that good access to walking, and it should be a protected pedestrian walkway. So I think I answered most of the questions.
So a couple of mass questions. Mr. Zalura referenced the general quality of life with traffic and how that would affect his neighborhood. So can you address that?
Yep, so access off of the hotel will be off of Sherman Avenue. So the main entrance and exit will be off Sherman Avenue. Clearview will have they'll have an entrance onto Cleveland, which will extend Sky High Trail. And that is gonna be purely to get into or out of the larger, like, horse trailers and that kind of stuff. It's kind of a site, you have to have 2 access and exits for emergency services, so they'll have an access on Clearview, but their main entrance will be off of Sherman Avenue.
It's still not gonna keep people from making a right-hand turn. I mean, we're literally talking about 8 pieces of property down to where I'm at. You know, so when you build that in there, you're gonna take up a good portion of that. It's just gonna create a lot of inconvenience around there too. And another thing is, when the carnival's around, that's a good spot for people for crime and stuff. Because you got a bunch of cars there overnight. And whereas, the carnivals during the day, the police are there, I'm sure the police are going,
Okay, I think we kind of get your drift with that and his response. Mrs. Sanders referenced the fact that we already have a hotel in town. Why do we need another hotel and so forth? So can you address that?
Yeah, Gigi addressed that.
I address that.
Well, she raised the question. You feel that you've adequately answered that one? Okay. All right. Okay.
What order is the softball field? On the removal of all this big projects, when are you gonna move the softball field?
So we had the first kickoff meeting for design for the actual construction of the new ones. We signed an we signed a memorandum of agreement with the school district already to use their other fields during construction timelines. So right now, it's kind of, when we get the plan, we'll start executing. I don't have a hard timeline. It could be this year, it could be, we're hoping for construction of the new ones in 25. So it should be kind of in the same timeline as when the hotel and all that stuff is started, we should be able to remove those. So, but this time I don't necessarily have a hard date. We haven't come up with one yet.
But you're looking at the same time, hotel bridge ground.
We should hopefully be able to remove them at the same time so that there should be no interruption for the facilities.
Okay, now does the council have any questions of any of the persons who've made comments or of DJ?
No.
Okay. If not, we will close the evidentiary portion of the public hearing. And there's been a recommendation from the planning commission, I believe, for.
Yes. You guys should have had in your packet a letter from the planning and zoning chairperson, Barbara Sears, recommending approval. She based it out by each project. She gave recommended approval for the overall PUD based on the revisions that were done between the public hearing and meeting that we had with planning and zoning. We had another meeting where we revised it. And then now you have the final product and they recommended approval of it based off of the changes.
And DJ, I'd like you to make mention of the letter that we received that is opposed to the project that's in the packet.
You also have a letter from Alicia Adams, I think. Ashley Adams, opposing the project. Most of her concerns again steer around the Stampede. Extra pedestrians, extra people. She's had people like apparently doing a picnic in her yard during Stampede. And parking and those kinds of things. So she's had some issues with Stampede and she's concerned that this will actually push traffic further down Clearview and into Green Mountain Court. That correct? Okay. And I can't argue whether or not what it will do. I honestly think depending on how we set up the Stampede, it might push parking away from there based on where we designed the parking for Stampede. It could hopefully push it the other direction because they won't be parking. They won't already be parking in that front parking lot by Sky High Trail.
That's what it looks like. It looks like it'll actually push a lot of that pedestrian stuff more north.
It's kind of by design.
Yeah, I mean, and if you had that parking lot in between the city shop and the hotel, like if they use that for parking and push the carnival toward where the softball field is, it looks like it's gonna push everything more interior. And avoid that more confrontation with the people living around it. I mean, obviously, we're not gonna gain any parking here, It looks like you're keeping the same amount of parking, it just moved.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay, so I think we've concluded the public hearing and we will now remand this matter to the board for appropriate action.
Okay, council back in session. You guys have any questions as far as for DJ and what his presentation has been?
Okay.
Are we voting on anything today, like the board, changing the layout of it or anything like that? Or is this just the preliminary, we're just looking at it for the first time?
This is the public hearing. I would like approval based off of the preliminary plat. The final plat, if you agree on the preliminary design, then the final plat will come back as far as the boundary adjustments. Because we're not changing anything major, once the preliminary plat is agreed upon, then it just goes back to staff and to you guys for signature on the redesign. Changing of zoning, once you guys approve the PUD, or if you guys approve the PUD, the zoning will get marked and changed on the official, and we'll move forward with that. We will not change the official zoning map until the new land use code is approved, because we'll be redoing the zoning map at that time anyway. So and it shouldn't affect the process until then. So we probably won't redo the zoning map until then, because it makes the most sense instead of doing it 2 times.
At the hearing with the planning commission, were there comments?
Most of it was desire, the questions were revolved around where the roads were going to be and access and parking. There was a lot of concern about parking. And there was concern over whether or not we needed to move all the lines. There was nothing in really particular. A lot of, like, Don Nolan's is mostly procedural and making sure we check all of our I's, dot our T's, and make sure that we're not doing things just because they're convenient.
Yeah, we don't want to set a precedence, that's for darn sure.
No, and we worked, like, honestly, I've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that none of this is for convenience. And in my opinion, to fail to do something with that means we continue to violate our own municipal code. Every time we hold an event, every time we do a sky high stampede, every time we have the ag conference, every time we have people camping there, we're violating our own municipal code. So a lot of what I worked on, or I tried to work diligently on, was making sure that we would now be in compliance with our own municipal code.
Yeah. So it seems to me that, you know, what's planned here, doesn't fix any parking problems, but it doesn't aggravate it either. You know, it's still gonna be there, it's still a problem. So in the PUD, well, it talks about having 1,500, requiring 1,500 parking spaces. That, you know, who wants to pave that? I mean, that fundamentally shuts down things like Stampede and the Carnival and all sorts of stuff. So seems like the PUD doesn't fix the problem, but neither does it aggravate the problem.
Yeah, we're basically just making ourselves code compliant.
Right. And that's a big part of this. It's making it compliant.
So DJ, normally the council could either take this matter under advisement or it could act on it right away. Now, are there timelines that involve expenditures and things like that that you need to advise the council of with this?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the PUD for the Sky High Complex as presented tonight.
Second.
It's been moved in and seconded to approve the PUD. Is there any more conversation on it? Discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Yes.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the PUD for the Sky High Complex as presented.
We will move on to resolutions. Resolution 2024-02, resolution of the city of Monte Vista, city council supporting public health and safety and acknowledging the lack of resources to help illegal immigrants.
Thank you, council. This is a rather sensitive subject. that was brought before us. This last Friday, the Rio Grande County Commissioners met to discuss, had a special work session to discuss a meeting that the Rio Grande County Emergency Manager, and his name is Brian Burl, and then Jody Kern attended, and Jody is the Director of the Department of Human Services. And it says this email went to Skip Schoen, who is the Rio Grande County Administrator. And it said, Jody and I meaning Brian, were in a meeting this morning concerning the continued and increasing amount of southwest border migrants arriving by busload in Denver. The city of Denver declared an emergency on December the 15th as their resources were overwhelmed. They're housing over 4,000 individuals and families currently, with more arriving each day. Currently, there is no indication or plan for any of these buses to arrive in the San Luis Valley or Rio Grande County. However, the possibility exists that some could decide to travel here. The emergency managers of the San Luis Valley counties, Jody Kern, and most of all the support agencies are looking at this as a regional approach for the counties in the San Luis Valley. Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management has a spot on the agenda for the next San Luis Valley Commissioners meeting on January the 22nd. So that's this upcoming Monday. Jody and I, again Brian, feel we should have a planning discussion with you, Dr. Bencoli, Sheriff Ann Robinson, and the commissioners about how we feel we should respond should any migrants arrive in the valley. And so Senators Bennett and Hickenlooper, and then Congressmen and Congresswomen Crow, Neguse, DeGette, Coravillo, and Peterson wrote a letter to FEMA asking for action and to support communities that wanted to engage in this. And of special concern by Jody Kern, they had 3 responses. The letter said, in response to this critical situation, we strongly urge FEMA to, and her biggest concern was provide technical assistance to communities setting up programs to meet the needs of migrants. And so in the discussion at the work session between the commissioners, and then it was Brian was there, Jody was there, Dr. Bencoli, who's the Department of Public Health for Rio Grande County, and Sheriff Robinson. They all strongly said, no, we can't. We don't have the people. We don't have the financial resources. We want to make sure we're taking care of Rio Grande County residents first. And so Rio Grande County passed a resolution yesterday, Wednesday, opposing support for illegal immigration and undocumented persons. And so we came up with a resolution for you all to consider. And then if it's passed, the Rio Grande County Commissioners are going to take it with them along with theirs to this All Valley Commissioners meeting that's going to be held on Monday. And I plan on attending that meeting, and I believe Chief George Beamfelder is also planning on attending. So if you'd like, I can read it. You can read it, whatever you all would like.
My comment is that, this is a real problem.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah. I flew out of DIA a couple of weeks ago, and it was a very early flight. You checked into one of the hotels on Tower Road, and there were a lot of people outside. And when they gave me the room, I went to the room and opened the door, and there were 9 single beds in that room. I did ask for a different room, but, and then the Denver Sheriff's bus showed up. So, you know, if you think it's not happening, it is happening.
Well, you're starting to finally see it publicized and stuff like that of all these places that are holding migrants, and it's pretty bad. I mean, I think if we open that floodgate, we're gonna have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm anti-immigration, but I am anti-illegal immigration like it is happening right now. I mean, I honestly don't want none of
Well, we
us
can't-
taking part in it.
We can't afford it.
We just,
Yeah.
well, when we can't afford it, too, we don't have the facilities or any of the.
That's just it.
infrastructure
Once we
that it
start
needs.
getting that influx, we will not be able to handle that. And plus, our citizens' tax dollars goes towards our citizens. It doesn't go towards every other worldwide citizen. I mean, so I personally, yeah, I'm all for sending them on draft of it.
Would you like to read it or would you like me to?
What? Go ahead.
Resolution 2024-02. A resolution of City Council of Monte Vista, Colorado, supporting public health and safety and acknowledging the lack of resources to help illegal immigrants. Whereas the city of Monte Vista is aware of the plight of illegal immigrants or undocumented migrants unlawfully entering the United States from Mexico, other Central American countries, and countries outside of North America and seeking asylum. And whereas the state of Texas has been busing some of the illegal immigrants seeking shelter, food, and clothing to sanctuary cities across the United States, including the city and county of Denver and surrounding metro areas. And whereas the city of Monte Vista has concerns over the lack of financial resources from the Rio Grande County Public Health Department, the sheriff, human resources, and emergency management to address the needs of those who are not current city or county residents. And whereas the city of Monte Vista does not have the infrastructure, finances, public safety, housing, or medical resources to offer aid to those who are in the city illegally. And whereas the Monte Vista School District does not have the infrastructure, the finances, or bilingual resources to aid children that should be in a learning environment. And whereas the city's surrounding agriculture business cannot legally hire illegal immigrants, so the economic benefit of putting these individuals to work is not allowable under the United States law. And whereas the city of Monte Vista Council is strongly opposed to the importation of illegal immigrants into the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Monte Vista, and the city of Monte Vista will not attempt to set up programs to meet the needs of illegal migrants. The city will support our local citizens first, above those who are asking for emergency or long-term assistance, who have entered the United States illegally. And the city council calls upon the United States Senate and Congress to mutually work toward a system that will allow people to enter the country legally and become productive members of the United States.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-2, resolution of City of Monte Vista Council supporting public health and safety, acknowledging the lack of resources to help illegal immigrants.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-02. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenzo,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2024-02. Resolution of the city of Monte Vista City Council supporting public health and safety and acknowledging the lack of resources to help with illegal immigrants.
Okay, we'll move on to resolution 2024-03, resolution authorizing city manager to sign CDBG grant.
Before I go through resolutions 3, 4, and 5, just a small background. We've talked before about me applying for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG grant, for approximately $3 million to acquire land and put some infrastructure in for housing. these three resolutions are required as part of that grant. I have discussed with, both with Gigi and the finance director to make sure we have the signing part correct. And then I also discussed with the Chief Dingfelder to make sure that the excessive force and the other policies are consistent with our current policies. These are merely to make sure that we have the correct format so that we can apply to the grant. Resolution 24 or 2024-03 will also need a small edit. I did not pre-read my associate's stuff and she spelled my name wrong. So I'll have to have her fix that. I spelled my name correctly when I write. So, but I will read it as it is, and we'll fix the spelling of my name later. So a resolution of the Monte Vista City Council allowing the city manager to sign necessary documents for property purchase. Whereas the Monte Vista City Council authorizes the city planner Dwayne DJ Inderly to apply for certain grants through the Colorado Community Development Block Grant Program and begin negotiations with property owners to purchase property for the affordable housing development at its regular meeting on October 19, 2023. And whereas it is necessary to designate the responsibility of a city official to sign necessary legal documents to effect the purchase of such acquisitions. Now therefore let it be resolved that City Council of the City of Monte Vista, that City Planner Dwayne DJ Inderly shall present any grant proposals to the Monte Vista City Manager Gigi Dennis for signature as may be necessary to obtain such grants and as authorized agent for the city to sign necessary conveying documents to effect the purpose of said grants. Provided further that any grants which require expenditure of city funds or matching funds from the city will first be authorized by the Monte Vista City Council.
Before we go there, I want to go on to the next two and talk about those a little more. I'm sure that that's not going to be an encumbrance upon our police department. And if the definitions are clear as to what falls into that, we're not going to make it harder for them to do their jobs.
No, talking to Chief Dingfelder, the things that we have in the things that are directly aligned with our use of force policy that we currently have in effect. And then the second one for nonviolent civil operations, I don't anticipate us forcibly trying to remove people who are nonviolent protesting. That's, but also, I mean, but at the same time, it also still falls within our current guidelines. So they do.
That's what I'm getting at, is we don't want to add anything on top of that.
Right. No, and
These are very specific situations, but I mean, last year we had 2 officers involved in a situation. We don't want them adding another layer that they have to think through before they react to what they have to react.
right. And according to Chief Dingfelder, these policies fall directly in line with what we have.
And just to confirm with Mr. Angelini, I do have email confirmation from Chief Dingfelder looking these both of these resolutions.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-3, a resolution for the Monte Vista City Council allowing city manager to sign necessary documents for a property purchase.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-03, resolution authorizing city manager to sign CDBG grants. Is there any more discussion?
So if we pass this, we're legally changing your name, you realize that?
Can we pass it with an amendment?
With said corrections.
You need
So what's wrong?
She spelled it DU and my name is DWAY. She just spelled my first name incorrect. It's a common misspelling. We're doing go.
You need
this all the time.
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sabella,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2024-3, resolution authorizing city manager to sign the CDBG grant.
With an amended name change.
No,
You can still go by DJ, it's okay.
There we go. Okay, resolution 2024-04 is a resolution of the Monte Vista City Council to adopt an excessive force policy. Whereas the City of Monte Vista, Colorado has made an application for community development block grant funds from the state of Colorado, and whereas in accordance with section 519 of Public Law 101-144, the HUD Appropriations Act, certain statements of assurances and certifications are required. Whereas the Armstrong-Walker Excessive Force Amendment, Public Law 101-114, and section 906 of Cranston-Gonzalez Affordable Housing Act of 1990 requires the recipient of HUD funds adopt and enforce a policy prohibiting the use of excessive force by law enforcement agencies within their jurisdiction against individuals engaged in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations. And whereas the Armstrong-Walker Excessive Force Amendment, Public Law 101-144, and section 906 of Cranston-Gonzalez Affordable Housing Act of 1990 requires the recipient of HUD funds adopt and enforce policy enforcing applicable state and local laws against physically barring entrance or exit from public facility or location that is subject to of such nonviolent civil rights demonstration within its jurisdiction. Now therefore let it be resolved that by the Monte Vista City Council that pursuant of the City of Monte Vista being granted CBDG funds by the state, the Monte Vista City Council by administrative act does hereby adopt a statement of policy prohibiting the use of excessive force by law enforcement agencies within its jurisdiction against any individuals engaged in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations and against physically barring entrance to or exit from a public facility or location that is subject to such nonviolent civil rights demonstration within its jurisdiction. That's it. That's that one.
Need a motion for that?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-04, resolution adopting an excessive force policy.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2024-04, resolution adopting an excessive force policy. Is there any more discussion?
My only concern about that is you could be nonviolent and you have people walk into the building. At what point in time can you, they don't want to leave, encourage them to leave?
Yeah, when you can turn on excessive force.
Well, what can you say, it's time to go?
I think a nonviolent civil rights demonstration is not a squatter or a trespasser, which is a difference.
Defined by.
So at some point in time, you could maybe consider them a trespass. Chief probably needs you to answer that question. I don't know. I mean.
Oh, well, and so some background on why this is the way it is most community development block grants would be tearing down neighborhoods and rebuilding them for multifamily and those kinds of things. But our intent is to purchase blank land and build. So that's why it has it in there, is because of like in New York City, when they would tear down entire city blocks and displace the residents. And that's.
But fundamentally, it's somebody with nonviolently could walk in the building and say, I'm demonstrating, and at what point in time can you get them to leave? Under what circumstances would it be, they sat there and said, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not violent, I'm not doing anything.
Gene?
Well, you may,
that's outside my realm.
A nonviolent demonstration, there's trespassing or other.
I think you have to see where they cross the line into obstructing a public building and some of the nuisance violations or some of the offense code. Because you can't, the fact that they're coming in and they're wearing whatever clothing or demonstrating or something like that,
Right.
It's, I don't think you can prevent somebody from coming in doing that, but if they get to the point where they're lingering in the building, they're obstructing, they're, becoming a nuisance to interfering with people's work and that kind of thing, I think that's when the police become involved and asking them to move on.
That's my only concern with it, is that, there's no tangible standard to say, okay, you're demonstrating, that's great, but time to move on.
Are we under a time crunch for these resolutions?
Well,
Yes and no.
we can't have a black grant without the
I
resolution.
can't apply for the grant without the resolution. I would like to apply for the grant in the first week of March.
Unita, you said you had a letter from chief.
I have an email from Chief, saying that he's okay with these resolutions.
We can table both of these. I'll be back in front of you guys February 2nd for a
First,
for a public meeting or hearing,
okay.
public hearing for the same grant. So we can table it and we can have a conversation with chief if you guys would like.
If you can
Some
look into
clarification.
that more detailed,
Yeah.
what are we getting ourselves into?
Yeah,
I can table these until the next council meeting.
it'd be nice
I
if the
think you have
chief
to have
was
a
here,
motion.
and I'd like to hear from the chief. Be great.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. So we need to,
I make a motion to table.
hang on, just a minute,
We gotta finish up.
We gotta finish the first motion first.
But I can take, you have a motion to table. Motion.
What's that?
You can amend your motion.
I can amend your motion to table it.
Yes.
Like
Lay it on us.
to amend my motion to table resolution 2024-04, resolution adopting excessive force,
And Cindy 24-05.
and 2024-05.
And I will get with chief to get either a statement from him or I'll have him at the next one.
To table that conversation till the February 1st meeting.
Have a second.
Second.
Motion to table amended motion to table resolution 2024-04, resolution adopting an excessive force policy, and resolution 2024-05 resolution regarding protection of individuals engaging in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations. Is there any more discussion?
No more for me. Oh, go ahead.
Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola.
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to table resolution 2024-4 and 2024-5 until the February 1st council meeting.
Okay, we'll move to contract renewal for city attorney. Anybody have time to read that?
I did. Make a motion to approve the renewal of the contract with the city attorney under the agreement as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the renewal for the city attorney. As the contract reads,
I'm
Need-
sorry, who seconded that motion?
I-
Thank you.
Thank you.
yes. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve contract renewal for city attorney.
Okay, we'll go to staff. Proposals, reports, and actions. Recreation.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
So for recreation, right now we have our youth basketball going on. We've increased our participation by 33 participants from last year in our recreation basketball program. We're also going to try it out this year, kind of offer a pre-K, K kind of like drop-in program where we can just bring pre-K and K, just teach them the fundamentals, teach them the skills. Had some parents that are very, very interested in doing that, so they will be doing that. And in a effort to offer more adult recreation activities, we are going to be having a yoga class that starts tomorrow out at Sky High. It'll begin tomorrow noon for 5 weeks, see how that goes. We're also going to offer Zumba classes on Tuesdays, starting next Tuesday out at Sky High for adults. We're also beginning to take registration for our adult basketball program. And the news that everybody wants to hear, the old floors are gone. The new floors are in, they're down, they're painted, all the lines, not so. I just went to a basketball game over at, Bill Metz, and one of the parents, as soon as I walked through the door, when's that opening, blah, 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 blah. And that, so they will be, a lot of folks will be happy to see that, so. We'll still use the schools for some practices, but most of our practices, all of our games will be at Sky High. Through February 3rd, then we will use the schools again for a week with the Ag Festival going on out there. But the floors look great, and we have a game on Monday at 6:30 if anybody wants to come out. And we have a special guest coming to shoot the first basket. So, right, Mayor Becker?
What I told you in the hallway, I can't repeat in the.
That's true, that is true. So, we're looking forward to doing a lot of activities out there, recreation wise with our new floors and that. There's 3 volleyball courts on each floor, a pickleball court on each floor, as well as a full-length basketball court. So we're looking forward to it.
And the 2 courts are set up now, so if you guys driving by and want to run in and take a look. There was an ag luncheon out there today, and so some of those folks went out there and looked, and they were very favorable comments.
Right, and we started at 9:30, putting the floors down on Tuesday morning. We were done by 2. So, good. Yeah.
How many people putting the floor to?
There was 6 of us.
8.
8 of us.
Oh, that's not bad.
So,
It was better than the last one.
yeah, so looking forward to it, man.
Football team.
Any questions for recreation? I'll see you on Monday at 6:30 there, buddy.
You're the Zumba instructor?
Pardon me?
You're the Zumba instructor?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we do.
You are.
Oh, no. Oh, you said that. Oh, let me go sit down.
If Dale can shoot a basket, I'm sure you can do Zoom.
He didn't say he was gonna make it, he said he was gonna shoot.
Oh, I didn't know you could do, well, we can offer another class, you know? Since you're volunteering to instruct.
If I'm doing the basket and I make it, then you're doing Zumba.
Center court, the shots in the center court.
Yes. We're gonna put them as close as we can get it.
That's not in your best interest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Durham. Kids Connection.
Signature page on him. All right, good evening, council. Kids Connections doing what we do, kids. So, after school program is back and running since Christmas break. Kids came back January 9th. We're still sitting at about 65 kids every day after school. And about 40 kids every Friday. So numbers are still up there. They are wearing us out, but we had a little bit of break over Christmas and we're good to go. Tomorrow, the San Luis Valley Federal Bank Board will be over at Kids Connection at 4:30 to present a $5,000 donation check and take a picture with the kiddos. So we're really looking forward to that. I don't have too much for you right now. I'm working on a grant through the state. It's called the Colorado Academic Accelerator Program. And I'm just trying to make sure that we fully align. We've changed a lot of our programming coming back from the school year after seeing some report cards come home and realizing that we really just need to enforce academic support as much as possible, even though the kids absolutely despise it, but it's kind of terrifying what we're leading into the future when we have 5th graders that are barely reading at a 1st grade level. So we're really stepping up our academic support and our mentoring program after school. We're working on a grant with the Riemann Foundation and then still doing a bunch of grant searches. I want to thank Gigi and Anita for the Grant Watch portal because it really did it made grant searching a lot easier for me. Instead of doing Google searches and looking at other organizations that support after-school programming. I'm able to go into one place, look under Colorado Grants for Youth, and then I just have to click and read through to see if we align, and I can do letters of inquiry from there. So it made some of my grant searching time, it cut it down significantly. In December, I submitted a grant to El Pomar Foundation, so we should hear back from them hopefully in March. Last Friday, we received a grant through the community fund from Enterprise Holding Foundation for $1,500 that caused me to have a little minor panic attack. Because the grant came in through community fund, and Barb's like, do you know what this is? I said, I have no idea, but I'll look for it. And then I saw an email from Gigi and her and Barb talking about it. Barbara Sears called me back and said, Kids Connection applied for it. I had no recollection of it. I was like, how am I gonna call my boss and tell her I don't even remember doing this? And I'm really happy we got it, but I honestly couldn't remember. So I freaked out for a minute because I was like, what else did I do during that span of time that I have absolutely no recollection of? Looking at the grant, he couldn't figure it out. Did get to the bottom of it. It was actually a grant that Chief Dingfelder found for Kids Connection and had it sent our way. So the mystery was solved, and I didn't feel like I was completely losing my mind. I was like, last year was a rough year, but I feel like I was just scared I lost the whole span of my memory. Upcoming now in February, we will have 2 new AmeriCorps members joining our team. Kids Connection got a full-time AmeriCorps member that will be serving with us every day throughout the week. And he will be hopefully my new program support in the purple room with the little kiddos. We may have to move some people around, but then we're getting another member. We're getting a member replacement because one of our members actually left AmeriCorps, wasn't working out for her. And so the replacement that they have going into Bill Metz full-time will come over and support programming on Friday. So 2 new ones starting the 1st of February. We're still short actual paid staff members, but we haven't even really stepped into the hiring process again after the bad luck we had last year. So I'm going to try to get the AmeriCorps members trained and ready to go, and then we'll see what it looks like for trying to find our other staff. So that's really all I got for you. Guys have any questions?
Good work.
Thank you. We're trying. Okay.
Thank you, and because Sky High, but before you start, can anybody else hear this music? Or am I just hearing things? Can you hear it?
I thought I heard a little bit.
Well, I hear like the,
There's the
yeah, the boilers.
No, there's music over there. Can you hear it?
No.
I know better than that.
What the voices are saying, here to do.
Sounds like there's a powwow going on out front.
There was Stampede members that just left.
No, there's music being played over here somewhere.
We'll do anything to get out of taking this basketball shot.
Maybe that's my problem. I bet too much.
Right, you finished the basketball shot.
You know what? I think it's Zumba music playing for you. Sorry, Steph. I can't hear anything, but it's like. Stephanie, go ahead.
Start you off with some numbers. Our December numbers did drop just a little bit. We had a few cancellations due to that snowstorm in December, towards the middle there. So we ended up with about 40 events in December. My rough numbers for my calculations for 2023 right now are about 455 events. So a little under what we had originally thought we were going to have, but still huge increase from what we had last year. Right now we are on track to have 58 events in January and 50 events in February. So we seem to be sticking right at that 50-ish mark right there for our events for the beginning of the year. A couple of changes that we've had at Sky High. I just did an internal promotion to have an assistant manager out at Sky High. This allows me to kind of focus a little bit more on some of the director responsibilities that I've not been meeting, but still have somebody that's in a leadership position at Sky High that can answer those questions and field some of that stuff for me when I'm not available. So Victoria Trujillo is the one that got that promotion.
Very good.
Yeah. To follow up a little bit more on what Durbin was talking about with basketball courts, they are up, they are beautiful. I have pictures on my phone. If you can't get out there, come see me. I'm happy to show you. To give you a little background on that, with our previous courts, it took 10 people 20 hours to put it together. And with this one, it took 8 people about 5.5 hours. So huge difference. We're going to be able to utilize it more without having an impact on the other events that we've already booked. And so we will have that up until February 1st, February 2nd, so that we have enough time to get it put away and cleaned up just in time for Ag Conference. All of our electrical stuff got done in December. I'm so excited. We were able to get a couple of different circuits on there, so we weren't tripping our breakers as much, with an addition of a few more electrical outlets to give us as well as our guests a little bit more flexibility in where they were plugging in and getting power from. On the sad side of that, we're having some issues with our HVAC system. So I think we've stumped Hussman's Plumbing right now. So they're calling in some support from the company that actually did the installation on the HVAC to help us figure out what we have going on and get us back up and running. And then our big beef fans will be here hopefully next week. So we have an RFP going out to do the installation for electricians to bid for that. So hopefully we can get those fans put up and also help some of our HVAC issues and heating and cooling issues in the event center. Our next big event is Ag Conference. Mark your calendars, February 6th through 8th. We're really excited. They have Dr. Temple Grandin as their keynote speaker. So they're expecting a huge turnout for her speak, as well as some of the panels that she'll be on throughout the conference. Questions?
Thank you, Steph. You guys still doing, you guys still doing Monday and Wednesday for?
Yes, open walking Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We've seen a huge increase from last year. The word's gotten out a little bit more. So we're averaging between 10 to 15 people in the morning, and usually between 3 to 7 in the evening. Just kind of depends on the evening.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
Mr. Enderly, planning.
Welcome back. Although interest has waned, so this is good. So really been busy in the land use department, planning and zoning, the community development. We're really just all over the place trying to keep things moving along. The land use development code we started with 312 definitions. We were down to 245 in the new code as far as what's kind of been went through so far. And so that was an extensive process. It was a total of 130 something pages of definitions when we looked at the various types and ways and purposes that the words can be defined, and then figuring out which one best suited our community. It was way more challenging to get through the definitions than I thought it would be. But we've got like 9 left. That we have to go through. So we're getting pretty close as far as the definitions side goes. We did go through our zoning districts this last planning and zoning meeting work session. So there'll be some changes to the definitions of the zones as we move forward. Once we get through the definitions, we're working through the procedures and the other chapters. So this will come to you guys probably, we're hoping to give it to you guys in draft form in February. It is going to be a complete change from the way the current code is currently built. I know you guys are excited about reading all 199 pages of the code as it currently is. And you're even more excited about reading the rest of it when we change it. So it's going to be a huge change. The things that I think are going to be really great for it is it's going to be slightly shorter, but it will be more concise. It'll have less duplication, less going from point A to point B to figure out what C and D means. It's going to be a much cleaner version of the code, taking out a lot of stuff that was just either duplicative or added as because it was important at that time as opposed to long-range planning. So we're working on that. The URA is working on a grant for consultant that you guys agreed to in budget to work on the TIP district for the land that we're doing for the CBDG. I should have that hopefully done by the next URA meeting, and then we'll be able to come back to you guys and say, this is the grant, we got it or we didn't, or and how we're gonna move forward with that TIP district. Today was the first meeting for the softball field design for the middle school campus. It was a good, very productive meeting. I think the school district, Durbin, myself have put quite a bit of thought overall into it. I think everybody's kind of given their 15 minutes, and then the major players have given probably 2 or 3 hours into where these things should be laid out and how the driveway should work and all those things. So we really care about making sure that we have a great recreation facility for the youth. And by placing it out there, we'll be able to have a much better one. But also, as the middle school looks at it, they're looking at their traffic flow, because anybody who's trying to drop off a kid at the middle school knows that it's a train wreck. So parking is hard. The way the fences is difficult. So they're looking at the entire campus, and we're trying to make sure that we get the things that we would like to see so that we have a good recreational facility. We have a really good plan. Her whole career has been fields, playgrounds, and fairgrounds. So it's what she does. So she's done a good job with it so far. We're hoping that that planning process will take about 90 days. Then I'll be able to give you guys some drawings and show you guys, hey, this is what the fields will look like. There'll be renderings with kids and cars and traffic flow and all that, as well as a beginning budget and some schematics. She also has a grant writer that works for her, and she will help build the grant stack to help with the capital campaign, so we can try to get a majority of it through granting. So we're trying to work our best to get that done. We're working through the CBDG grant, which, we had the resolutions today. We're trying to turn it in the first part of November. If we don't, I'm sorry, March. If we don't turn in the first part of March, it's not the end of the world, but it will push it back till September. Because of the way that the funding is going to work, we won't be able to apply for it until September. We were told that we could probably ask for more. So right now we're playing with our budget to make sure that we're asking for the appropriate amount. We're still looking at between $3 and $4 million for the project as far as what we're going to ask for. And then it'll be a rolling fund for quite some time. And then I'm also working on strategic planning, working with all of the directors as well as Gigi to help develop the next 5-year strategic plan for priorities. And then we'll be meeting with you guys to go over what the directors have developed and have you guys tell us these are your guys' priorities for us to look at. I mean, our ideas are great, but we work at your guys' best. So understanding which direction you want us to go is what we're gonna be looking for from that. So I've been working on that with Gigi and the other directors, as well as working on the development of Sky High Park. And we just finished the RFP for the alleys. That's mostly his role now that the grant's done. But that RFP is out so that we can get the alley between Washington, Jefferson, and Adams completed. That's it. So I could still do more. I have some free time to fill. Any questions, guys? Thanks.
Thank you, DJ. The city attorney.
Mayor, Council. Well, to start out with, we had 42 cases in Muni Court yesterday. And just for Councilor Watson's information, this is kind of an average, really. We've been up as high as 65 or so at various times, and down as low as 20. So it's wasn't an unusual caseload. Consists of assaults, disorderly conduct, trespass. We had 10 cases of trespass, and those tend to occur when somebody's coming back into a business where they've been told not to be, and usually because of shoplifting in the first place. So it's kind of a repeat thing that we see pieces of people coming back in and being trespassed and then file them for trespass. When kind of entertaining yesterday, where one lady came in swinging a cane around, banging it on the desk. So it's a little vocal in there sometimes. Thefts, injury to property, drug house activity, dangerous dogs, traffic, a lot of traffic stuff, running stop signs, speeding, failing to yield, and so forth. Tomorrow morning, we're having a meeting in my office with some of the parents and some of the participants who were in a fight between Big R and Top Value over there. And there's a lot of back and forth every time you get one of these fights among teenagers, or you have finger pointing this way. So distilling all that out is just part of the routine. So we'll be occupying some time on that tomorrow with the police officers involved and parents and so forth. Been working on personnel matters in hirings in collaboration with Sarsa attorney and the Employers Council attorney. And you have to go through a lot of hoops on this now when you're giving notices out to applicants. So we're working through on that. We're about at the end game on that situation. So ready to wrap that one up. DJ mentioned the land use code. This is the thing that probably occupies the most time, is the land use code, because when you're talking about definitions, definitions are important because they form the basis of what you're trying to regulate in the first place. And so we've been looking at the different definitions. He's brought in the Model DOLA code and other the Planner's Dictionary code and so forth. So we're looking at comparative analysis. And actually, many of our definitions that we've had in our code, I think, are better and more specific to Monte Vista than some of the ones that I'm seeing from other jurisdictions. But there are some of ours that need revising, and we're picking those up. So I think we're getting toward an end game on those. And with we'll be looking at STRs and ADUs and all of those things with the land use code too. We've been working with Rob and Gigi. We've got some issues with fuel tanks out at the airport with the state inspector, so we're having to work through all that. And Gigi wanted me to address some things on coma, but at this point in time, coma is probably what you'd be in if I went very far into talking about coma. So she asked me to kick this over to the next city council meeting when I gave her a report, and there to address the basic law about coma, Colorado open meetings law. So those are the kinds of things that I've been working on throughout. Do you have any questions? Not? Thank you.
City manager.
It's not very long, just a couple notes. So the exterior of the building is coming along. We can't finish up any painting now because it's still too cold, so that's gonna. We're still waiting to get the doors for the storage shed. That way, that needs to be up. We're excited to have the sign get put up. A couple of the letters are a little cockeyed, so it's like, now we gotta get those fixed. But we're getting there, so it's pretty exciting. And then we'll start inside. Maybe. One thing that DJ didn't bring up, and that is in planning and zoning, we have to have, it states we have to have a non-voting city council member on that committee. And I'm not a real fan of not being able to vote and having to sit there in committees. But the committee would like for Councilman Howard to consider being appointed to that, since you got some experience from when you were on there before you got on council. So should you accept this?
Who's making the
Assignment.
appointment, or how does this work?
So you get to go, let's sit in.
I understand.
We
say please and you say yes and then we do the appointment next.
Also, who makes the appointment? That's my question.
Yes,
The council.
Yes, what?
yes, the mayor makes the appointment.
You can either voluntarily be appointed or just appointed. It's like,
That's on, Dale. Huh? That's nice.
would you please be on?
Sure.
So appointed.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Warren.
And Jean's right. I mean, I'm trying to hit some of those meetings and understand what we're doing with the definitions and stuff, and they are quite chatty. I mean, they're a very active group of appointed people who are taking it very seriously, and so, good job the DJ for doing it, and thank goodness for Gene and his help, and I'm surprised Gene didn't ask for an increase, because we really have worked him a lot this year, so appreciate that too, Gene. I'm not sure when he sleeps. Nita's deputy, Lorena, just walked out on us, so just poof. So that there'll be some changes coming there. We're still looking for a finance director, and we still got 2 positions in public works that we're trying to fill. The one thing that I've been working quite a bit on is rewriting the personnel handbook. And we have had so many discussions between Chief and Judy. I think Anita's been on them, Rob's been on some of them, talking about our drug policy. And in the drug policy, even though they are drug tested for marijuana, we're having a hard time hiring people that are totally drug-free. So I'd like you all to think about, give this some thought, because I'd like to ask you all to be able to waive that portion of the drug test. I mean, they'll still be tested for all the other bad stuff, but marijuana will be included. If we can waive that, if they test positive for non-sensitive positions. So that would mean like the Parks Department, would mean office personnel. So I'm not asking for an answer, just, I know we're pretty conservative, but it is a legal substance now in our state. And so we need a little leeway.
It is problematic finding out these days because of that. Since we live in a recreational state, most people that live here try it. I mean, it's a pretty tough law to get by. One thing is how do you catch it if they're doing it during work hours?
Well, we can still stop anybody and what do you call it? Can't think of the word. Yeah. And it's suspicion.
Yeah, reasonable suspicion.
And so if we smell it on somebody.
Well, I'll be voting no. That idea.
Well, what,
I'm hard over on that one.
I know.
based on the insurance as well? Like, is that a concern we have with insurance and like, workman's comp type stuff? So somebody comes in the morning and or that person has been spend the night toking it up pretty good and then gets injured. Where does that leave us?
Well, and I can't answer that. I don't know if Jean knows that answer or not.
Yeah, that's
We've
kind of the question is how do we differentiate whether they're under the influence at the time or whether that was like the night before that it's in their system?
Well, and it stays in their system for weeks.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
been
the only tough part about it. I understand, I totally agree with If it's illegal in the state, then, I mean, this should just come down to the private affair. What they're doing is their deal, but how do you test for it? Or, how do you kind of keep an eye out for it? Because every company, I'm sure you guys you probably don't, but I mean, our company, everybody's like trying to hire on is almost impossible because no one's getting past the test.
So I know, like, I grew up around all that, where I work, like I'll get somebody that's delivering to my job. And within 5 seconds of interacting with them, I'm like, this dude is lit, he's not sober. I went to go buy wood at Alamosa, and within a minute of interacting with this guy, I was like, are you okay? Like, are you sure? Because like I recognize it. You know what I mean? People, like, if like you get to being around people that are sober, right? Then you get around that same person that's drunk. You're gonna know it. You're gonna see it. I think it'll be pretty easy to be like, just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, and of course, for law enforcement, it's an absolute no. And for anyone that has a CDL driver's license, it's an absolute no. But, and it's primarily in public works. Spent a little bit out at Sky High trying to find people that are gonna work some of the crazy hours that we have, so. Give it some thought and we can discuss it again and, yeah.
I had to give it any thought, but.
Yeah, yeah. So outside of that, it's, you can hear from staff, we're pretty busy. Everybody's chomping at the bit, and I was really hoping things would just slow down in January, and we've got our skis on.
Thank you, Gigi.
Have we heard from the attorneys or the engineers on the augmentation plan at all?
So, no.
Getting like signals here.
So so I have been doing some water stuff. So this last week Consolidated was meeting and Larry had met. You weren't at the Chevron when you're supposed to be as a shareholder.
Exactly.
We've heard from Jordan Demick and Jeff Williamson about the selling of our excess like we did last year from the water storage. And so they have gone ahead and sent those letters to Rio Grande Water Conservation to say, we'd like to do this again. I think they still want to do it again. So, but we have not gotten an update on the augmentation. So still working on it.
Put a bug in there, that sustainability metric is likely going to change in the next 5 years.
Okay. You got it.
Okay, council committee, city commission, and council reports. Council Lorenz. Mayor Pro Tem Segala.
I'm good. I'm listening.
Councilor Watson. Councilor Howard. Thanks for stepping up on the items. I appreciate that. You were good at it.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Monty Strong, that's all I'm gonna tell you.
On an executive session, Dale?
Executive session.
Yes. Unless you guys read through it prior to and don't want to discuss anything.
No.
Okay.
Make a motion to go into executive session for discussion of personnel matter under CRS section 24-6-4024F and not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, any member of this body or any elected official.
the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or of an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personal to particular employees, specifically looking at a discussion of the city manager contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for discussion of personnel matter under CRS section 24-6. 4024F and not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session. Any members of this body or any elected official, the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or of an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personnel to particular employees, discussion of the city manager contract. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Counselor Watson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to go into executive session.